Hey guys, welcome to a lesson with Artsy Rose. We are going to be creating a really silly monkey hanging from a tree branch today. Here's some items that you may want to go grab. You'll need some paper. Today I'm going to be using watercolor paper, but any kind of heavier paper will work just fine. You'll want a pencil because we draw with pencil in case we mess up so we can fix our oopsies. And you may want some crayons or oil pastels. You may want some markers. And a new product I'm going to be using today is watercolor pencils by Crayon. So those are just some of the items that you'll need. Maybe a water cup and a paintbrush or two different sizes. So some of these are optional items, but I wanted to teach you some different things that you can do with those art supplies that we just discussed. Okay, so I am going to start with an I draw, you draw. I'm going to draw and then you're going to draw on your paper. And then we'll go into the coloring method and techniques, okay? So I am going to start with a vertical paper. That means it's up and down. And I'm going to begin at the top of my paper. And I'm going to do a little bit of a wiggle to my horizontal line, okay? Now, from here, I'm going to come down a ways. So I'm going to pause the top part of my art. Actually, I could go ahead and do this line. Now, I'm going to come down a ways, and I am going to draw a fairly large oval on my paper, okay? From here, this is the monkey head, because remember, we're drawing a monkey. From here, I'm going to draw a C and a backward C. Inside of that, I will do a spiral. Notice the spiral started closest to the head and worked its way around. Same thing on this side. We're going to start closest to the head and work our way around to the middle. So it's almost like you're making a circle that gets a little smaller, Now from here, I am going to do a curve and then go back to the middle and do a curve. So it's like we're trying to make a circle, but not quite. Then I will connect these with a smiley face curve, okay? From here, we'll do circle eye, circle eye. Monkeys are symmetrical. That means that they're the same or similar on both sides. So whatever we do on the left side, we should do to the right side. Circle eye, circle highlight. Circle eye, circle highlight. So this is the pupil, the part of the eye that the monkey is going to see out of. If it's a girl monkey, maybe she has some eyelashes, right? Definitely could put some eyebrows. If it's a boy monkey, technically you could put eyelashes, but you definitely don't have to. We'll do two little circle, well, kind of ovalish nostrils. And then we will do a smile, just like that. Now we could make it a really big smile and maybe put a little grin, just like that. Now, from here, we're going to make almost like a U body, okay? And then we're going to do diagonal, 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 diagonal. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we've got two legs. And then for the feet, I'm going to do curve line, connect. Almost looks like little Lego fingers, right? And connect. That leg kind of goes right off the paper, but that's okay. Now, the arms are a little silly. The arms are like back behind the monkey's head. And so we're going to draw curve line, little bit curve, little bit curve, little bit curve. And then directly above the hands, or the arms, is where the little fingers are going to go, right? Same thing on this one. Little fingers, fingers, fingers. Okay? We could even draw a little belly area, a little belly button. Okay? Now we have our monkey drawn. Super simple. We broke it down into lines and shapes. Parents, anytime you can do that for your kids, break down a drawing. Instead of it being a monkey, it's curved lines, ovals, circles, things like that, that all then come together into a monkey. Hopefully you drew with pencil, and then now if you wanted to, you could trace with Sharpie. I start with Sharpie so you can see what I'm doing. Next, I'm going to use some oil pastels, but of course you can use crayons if you want to. And we're going to do a little blending. So up here, I might color, medium pressure. Color in kind of medium pressure, real, almost rough, zigzaggy coloring, right? So this is a pretty good medium pressure. Now I'm going to color softly in those white spots that we left, just like that. Perfect. Now from here, I'm going to add just a little bit of this yellowy orange. I am using Crayola oil pastels. Really, you could use crayons, colored pencils, markers, whatever you have at home, that's what you should use. But I do love Crayola oil pastels. They are just, I love them. I love blending with them. They color well. They're very cost efficient. So as far as oil pastels go, I think they're pretty awesome. And they're a little bit thicker, so sometimes that makes it easier for smaller hands to be able to hold on to them. Now this is a white oil pastel that I'm going on top of all of that brown with so that I can blend. The lighter areas are where I was very gentle with the pastels, and then the darker areas are where I was pushing down hard with the pastels. So I'm getting my tree all colored in, trying to cover up all the white spots. No white spots. I don't like them. Okay, then I could go back with my brown and darken up just a few of those areas. So what we're doing is we're creating a visual texture. Texture is the way something looks or feels, right? So we're creating a rough looking tree branch. Maybe throw another little spiral in there. There we go. And now we got our black in there and created some great texture, right? Now for the monkey, you could have fun. Monkeys don't have to be brown or black. In our world, you know, monkeys could be purple or blue. Totally up to you. Today I might do a turquoise and a purple monkey. So I'm going to outline this edge just like that. Outline this edge around the monkey belly. So I'm using like a turquoise oil pastel, or again, you could use crayon. There we go. All right. Outline the little legs. There we go. Now, because this is watercolor paper, you guys have so many options on getting this filled in. And I'm going to show you just a few of them that I think are pretty cool. Okay, so we get this colored in. There we go. And I'll color, well, I'm not coloring, I'm tracing. So trace that in. Perfect. Just like that. Okay. Nice. Now, if I wanted to, I could take a purpley color, right? Maybe give them some fur, just kind of dash, 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 dash. Now, you could, in fact, just go ahead and color this in with oil pastel too, or crayon, you know, if you wanted to. You don't have to do what I'm about to do next. That's what's so awesome about art, is you are your very own special artist, and how you do it may be different than how I do it. As long as you're taking your time and trying your best, then that's all we can do as artists, right? And we get to express ourselves through our work. Now, for the monkey's face, I am going to go a little bit back to the natural side of things, and I am coloring with a brown oil pastel very softly. And what I'm going to do is I want to make this look tan. So what can I use to do that? If you don't have a tan, is I can next go right on top of all of these brown with some white, and that's going to make it look tan. So I'll come in here now with a white pastel, and this time I'm using muscle. With the brown, I was coloring very softly, and this time I'm using a lot of muscle to get it all colored in. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. And it gives us a pretty tan color. Now, had I colored really hard with my brown, I would not be getting quite this effect. It would look more like our tree, right? It would be a lot darker. But I wanted to go for soft. So now we'll get this all colored in. Sometimes when you're coloring with oil pastels, you can accidentally pick up the color next to it, and then it'll smudge into your coloring. I personally think that looks kind of cool, but if you don't like it, you can take your fingernail, and sometimes it will scratch off, even if it's just a little bit. Another thing that you can do to sort of prevent that from happening is you can take a napkin and put your pastel in there, and then you can rub like this, and it'll clean the tip of that pastel up to where it looks nice and new. Okay? Napkins are definitely a tool in the art world for helping us to be successful. Okay, I might even want to put just a little bit of brown in the ears, a little bit tan, right? So color that in softly, and then I can go on top. You can even make up your own colors. Like I could have mixed in a little bit of that yellow orange on top of this brown, and it would have totally changed the effect, right? Okay, now I might color in the mouth. You could add teeth or lips or a tongue. That would be so funny. Okay, then I will give our monkey, maybe some green eyes. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to take my black pastel, and I forgot some purple up on the fingers, didn't I? We'll just put a little bit up there. There we go. And I know my coloring is not the prettiest. That's because we're not done. I want to show you some things that we can do with our markers and with our watercolor pencils. There we go. And also, if you have watercolor paints, and we made a video on making your own watercolor paints out of using old dried up markers, so you could even use those. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, you'll have to make sure and find that video and watch it, because my guess is you guys have a lot of markers around the house that don't work, so you might as well turn them in to liquid watercolor paint. There we go. Nice. And the reason why I'm going over these lines is because the oil pastel is so thick that it kind of covers it up, right? So it covers up our black lines. So I'm just very carefully with the black going back and retracing these. There. Oh, How about the little nostrils? And let's go ahead and do the eyes too, just so it stands out super awesome. Now, as these kind of get flat, the pastels, they lose some of their sharpness, which makes it harder to trace a small line. So if you kind of angle your pastel one direction or another, that might help you a little bit. Okay, here's what I wanted to show you. So on my monkey body, say I don't want to completely color it in with oil pastels, which you could, and you could blend colors and it would be beautiful. You could take a watercolor pencil, and I am going to use a little bit of muscle and get this all colored in. That board is noisy. And again, I'm using a watercolor paper. If you don't have watercolor paper, a good thick paper will work, or cardstock, tag board, anything like that. Even white cardboard. If you had like some white cardboard, that would even be kind of cool. So I'm getting this all colored in. I'm trying to stay off my black lines because I don't want to smudge on my black lines, because that oil pastel will smudge. So I'm using a purple watercolor pencil. These are also made by Crayola. And I've only been using these about a year, but the first time I used them, they kind of blew my mind. It's so cool. So it's like I'm coloring with hard watercolor, right? Or a colored pencil. And then what you do is, if it's a small area, grab a small brush, hold it just like you would hold a pencil, right where the metal and the handle touch. And you're going to get into your water. And when I paint on top of the watercolor pencil, it is going to make it look like watercolor paint. There. I'll just go around and around. Now, if you're switching colors, just like when you paint with watercolor, actual watercolors, you have to clean your brush. Every time you switch colors, you just rinse your brush off in the water. Very gentle ballerina in the cup. Sort of tap it on the sides, and then we get that all filled in. Now, next thing I want to show you that I thought was kind of cool when I figured this out is you could take a just good old Crayola marker, and because this is watercolor paper, I'm using the side of the marker tip. So I'm using the side of the tip, not the tip, and sort of fill this in. And I'm doing yellow first, and then I'll go back and I'm going to put some green in there. So where the yellow and green cross, I'm hoping it will make like a lime greenish. And where they don't cross, it'll look a little darker. There we go. I could even use a little bit of blue maybe right on my edges. Put a little bit of blue in there, because when blue and yellow mix, they're going to make green, right? Blue is a primary color, yellow is a primary color, and so when a primary and a primary mixes, it's going to make a secondary. So in our case, it will make secondary green. Now, I know this coloring is not pretty. I understand that. Okay. And then I'll use some green, kind of cover up my white spots. Plus, I want to overlap on the yellow in some areas so we get that lime green color. Have to be careful on top next to the oil pastel. The markers don't want to work real great once they touch the oil pastel. So oil pastel will do the same thing to a Sharpie. It kind of clogs up the Sharpie tips. So I never use Sharpie on top of oil pastel. It's just a little thing I learned on accident one time. That's the thing about artists, is you learn as you go and you experiment. And if you don't try it, you never know. Okay, so again, it looks kind of scribbly. I know. Then we're going to take, and you could use a bigger brush because we're painting a bigger area, but this time I'm going to paint on top of my marker, and the water turns the marker into paint, or at least it looks like paint. It blends, blends, and blends. Now this will not work on copy paper, not very well anyway, so you might think about that when, I'm going to switch to the bigger brush, when you're painting, if you're wanting to turn this into paint. If you do it on copy paper, it really doesn't work very well. So you might think about that. Okay, so get this all worked in. There we go. So I'm painting over the whole background. And if you don't want the yellow to be blended, you stay off. You just paint the yellow first, and then you can paint on top of your greens or your blues. If you do want it to be blended, then just drag it all the way across. Now, of course, since you're your own special artist, you are going to be using whatever colors you want to use. Your art will not look like my art. I've been doing this a long time. I've got a lot of practice. And so my art should look different than your art. Okay, there we go. Just work that in there. Awesome. There, I made sure to paint over the whole thing and not leave any white spots. So you guys can try this activity out. Remember, since it's on video, you can hit pause at any time and get all caught up. And come up with your own cute little monkey. I'm going back on top and sort of darkening up some of my areas. There we go. With the green. You could even give your monkey a name. You could create a whole story around your monkey. It's totally up to you what you come up with. This, my friends, is our monkey. I don't know what to name it. Maybe you have some ideas and you could give her a name for me or him a name for me. Make sure and tag us at Artsy Rose Academy in any of your art that you do, because we really want to see what you guys are creating at home. And if you name your monkey or give it a little story, tell us about that too. We cannot wait to create some more art with you. Have a great day.